What day's the day, Aaron?
It is Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. That means what?
That means it's time for making hay with JRA.
That's damn right. It's time to make some hay with JRA every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I am Lee Godbold. This is Junk Removal Authority. And of course, you are watching Making Hay with JRA. Appreciate you watching. Hey, what you need to do before you get going right now, hit that subscribe button below if you're not currently subscribed to us, and give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down throughout this episode if you like it or dislike it. Don't care what it is, just have an opinion. How the hell do I turn this off here? There we go. So turn this down, Aaron, if you would. It's coming from your desk. All right, so today, what we're going to talk about today is something that was a question that was posed last episode. Wanted to talk about diesel or gasoline trucks. Wanted us to touch on some of these diesel regulations. Specifically, I'm guessing the question was for California. So that's what the first topic we're going to talk about is, should you go with diesel or gas? And this is a big question that a lot of people won't answer. It's a question you should definitely ask yourself before you get into business. Now, once you're in business with a few trucks, your hand has mostly been forced, and you're probably going to stick with what you have chosen in the past. So let's go over just the pros and cons. First, I'm going to touch on our history with trucks and what we've gone with. So we use diesel vehicles. They're Isuzu cab-over trucks. We have we have 5 now because we had one of them got totaled. We've got 5 NPRs that are ex-Scott Junk trucks. NPR HDs. One of them has the I hope I'm not about to embarrass myself and forget this, but it's the 4H E1 engine, which I believe is a 4.7 liter diesel. The other 4 are 4HK1 TCs. They are 5.2 liter diesel engines. 05 and earlier was the 4HE1. 06 and later is the 4HK1 TC. The other trucks we have are the Isuzu NRRs, which is a 19,500 GVWR truck compared to the NPR HD, which is a 14,500. All of our vehicles are diesel. I've never once set in or drove a gasoline Isuzu truck. I know a little bit about them, and I've heard reviews from people that do own them, so I know some about them, though my expertise is definitely on the diesel trucks, specifically the Isuzu trucks. Diesel trucks haul like crazy. They got a lot of low-end torque. This is pretty obvious to everybody. A diesel truck is going to be able to make a heavy load on a diesel truck is going to seem like nothing compared to a gasoline truck. A diesel engine, you're hardly ever going to see struggle. The truck around it, the suspension, the shocks, the springs, the brakes, you're going to notice if you've got a really heavy load because those things might get overloaded. You're not going to overload a diesel engine for the most part, at least not any of the diesel engines you're going to be using in junk removal or of today. So if you're using Duramaxes, Power Strokes, Cummins, or even these Isuzu engines, which are a lot lower power, they're never going to seem like they're struggling with any load that you're going to place on the truck. If the truck itself is going to be just, you're going to have fenders bottomed out, or it's going to be sitting on its rear end before you're ever going to seem like a diesel truck is overloaded. A gas truck, on the other hand, that thing can be screaming going down the road, and the gas engine, you're going to seem like it's overloaded before the truck itself often is. That doesn't mean the gas engine is not capable of hauling that amount of weight. It just means that the gas engine is going to make a hell of a lot more noise, turn a hell of a lot more RPMs, and just struggle a lot more than its diesel counterpart. Diesel engines get 20% or so better fuel mileage. I've seen reports of 30 or 35%, but I'd like to be conservative on my numbers, so you're probably going to see about a 20% increase in fuel mileage on a diesel truck. These Isuzu trucks, we get around 10. The new ones, we might get a little over 10. The old ones, we get a little under 10, but we average about 10 miles per gallon. I would expect its gasoline counterpart to get somewhere around 7 or 8 miles per gallon. I don't have exact numbers, but I do know, other than what Isuzu publishes, which is, it's about a 20% change or decrease. Transmissions are generally going to last longer in a diesel vehicle. They oftentimes use a different transmission, or pretty much always use a different transmission, and it's more robust, and then the transmissions just last longer on a diesel vehicle. The trucks themselves the engines themselves last longer. So a diesel engine, I got to verify these numbers here, but I know the new Isuzu diesel trucks are, I think, they used to be 310,000 miles. I think they've upped that to 325,000 or 340,000 miles before you've worn that engine out. You can verify that number. The gasoline counterparts, you're going to expect to get somewhere around 250-ish out of them, if you're hauling heavy loads. The diesel trucks last longer because they turn a lot fewer RPMs, but the other part is the environment a diesel engine operates in, or not operates in, but a diesel engine goes through, it's a lot more stress for that diesel engine. It's a higher compression, it operates at a higher temperature. So the pistons, the valves, the cylinder walls, all of that stuff are really beefed up, and that's the reason a diesel engine will last longer than a gasoline engine. The diesel engine or the diesel trucks have a higher resale value. So you can go on and look for, and we're going to use Isuzu's as a good example, but this applies to your Dodges, Chevys, Fords, whatever. The Isuzu trucks and diesel trucks as a whole have a higher resale. A got junk Isuzu truck that has 160,000 miles on it and is a diesel is probably going to go for 23, 24, 25, 26,000 depending on the shape. Its gasoline counterpart is going to be like 18, 19, 20,000. So you've got about a 6 or 7. You look for a used got junk $1,000 difference there. You get that gasoline engine up to 200,000 miles and all of a sudden that thing's probably only worth 11, 12, 13, while its diesel counterpart is probably worth about 21, 22, 23. So as you get more miles on it, that spread and resale value increases because the gasoline engine is closer to wearing out. And the last thing I'll say is a diesel engine, a diesel truck, it just feels like a truck. It doesn't feel like you're driving around in a car or something that's light duty. It feels heavy duty. The same Isuzu truck with a diesel engine and a gas engine, it drives completely differently. The diesel truck just feels like much more of a truck. And guys, while we're going through these pros and cons, hey, add in the comment section what you like, diesel or gas. And let's touch on it. If you got questions on diesel or gas engines, let's touch on them. I'm going to cover the cons and then we're going to go through these comments. So please post comments as you're listening. All right, so the cons between diesel and gas. Number one, most people are not used to driving. Most of the employees you hire are not going to be used to driving a diesel truck. That's going to increase the likelihood that they're going to put gasoline in that diesel truck. It's very, 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 it would be a small possibility of them putting diesel in a gas vehicle because most people are simply not used to driving a diesel truck. They're tired, whatever. They pull right up at a gasoline pump without even thinking. They fill up your diesel truck with gasoline. Maybe, hopefully, it doesn't cause any major damage, but at most, the truck's probably going to knock off, not run. You're going to have to drain all the fuel out. You're going to have to change all the fuel filters. You're going to have to get it cranked back up. It's probably going to cost you $700-800 to do all that between wasted fuel, labor time to pull everything, unless you do it on your own, fuel filter cost, filling it back up, so on and so forth, and downtime. So hopefully, on the worst case scenario is you blow a hole in that engine and something screws up and you can't run it. You mess up fuel injectors, whatever. It can be very expensive if that mistake's made. The fuel is more expensive. Diesel vehicles, on average, I think the fuel price is something like 14 cents more per gallon throughout the country. The parts are more expensive to get in a diesel vehicle. So, and they're harder to get. So this, on the Isuzu's, the gasoline engine is essentially a Chevy V8 motor. You can go to a Chevrolet dealership and get any part you need for that engine from the Chevy dealership. It's probably in stock. The Isuzu dealerships are much more slack on keeping parts. And a lot of times, the Isuzu vehicles, the Isuzu dealerships, they're oftentimes a dealer for either Kenworth or Volvo trucks or Peterbilt or something like that, and Isuzu's second fiddle. So not only do they stock very little of the parts people tend to put Isuzu customers as a second level customer, somebody not important as their Peterbilt, Kenworth, or Volvo customers. So that is a common issue you have to deal with if you've got going with the Isuzu route and the diesel route versus gasoline. The DEF system on trucks 2010, 2009, 2008, 9, depending on when your truck was built, you've got to deal with the DPF filter, the diesel particulate filter, and a regen. Those systems gave issues, especially as they got up in miles. On the Isuzu trucks in particular, you need to read up on what you have to do if that thing's calling for a regen. If you're not getting it hot enough and it can't do an automatic regen, then you got to do a manual regen. Your guys have to recognize when that's the case, and they have to know how to carry that out. And it's downtime. You're going to got to take 20 minutes to pull over on the side of the road or in a parking lot to run that manual regen. Most of the time, an automatic regen takes place. If you're doing a lot of in-town driving, that might not occur though. You've got to do that manual regen. You got to have guys that understand it. And so about around 2012, again, depending on when your engine was built, the DEF fluid system was introduced into the Isuzu trucks. And that required you had to put in DEF fluid, which is another expense, and you have to take time to do it. And if it runs low, it starts limiting you on speed, and the stuff's nasty. So it just introduced a whole nother round of issues and a whole nother bit of maintenance you have to do, which is add that DEF fluid. If you want to keep some DEF fluid on you, the guys want to top it up, and just kind of keep it topped up, and you shouldn't have a whole lot of issues. There's a chance of your guys actually adding diesel into the DEF system. On the Isuzu trucks, if that occurs, it's about a $6,000 repair. It'll ruin that entire exhaust regeneration system and DEF system. It'll all have to be replaced. You're looking at $6,000, almost to the cost of the engine. Well, not quite half the cost of the engine, but still a huge expense to fix. The California, so this is a big deal for those of you in California. This is going to be a major determining factor is if you go with a diesel truck or a gas truck. If you're looking at buying used in California, you're not going to want to buy a truck that was built before 2011 or has a truck that was built prior to, or has an engine in it that was built prior to 2010. Starting trucks between the age of 2004 and older, by January 1st, 2020, you must be in compliance with this. That means you must have an engine that is 2010 or newer, which likely means you're going to replace the vehicle. Trucks 2005 to 2007, by January 1st of 2021, you must have a truck, you must be in compliance, an engine of 2010 or newer. Trucks 2008 model years to 2010 model year must comply by January 1st, 2023. So you've got to replace those trucks. You're not going to be able to buy, for no reason at all, Aaron, no reason at all, should you purchase a truck that's a model year 2010 or older. You want to keep it to 11 or newer. So what's the verdict? You've got for the Isuzus, the NPR is the only gas option. This is going to weigh into your decision-making process. 14,500 pounds GVWR on the Isuzu trucks. Oftentimes you're going to be overweight. An empty got junk truck empty weighs 9,800 pounds generally, depending on the year model. 9,800 pounds. That means you have roughly 4,700 pounds to put in before you go overweight. Now that 9,800 is with two people in it, so actually it weighs about 9,500, 9,400, somewhere in there empty. Once you add two guys, you're at 9,800. So you see what you're facing right there. You got a big old boy, you're going to be even less weight than that. The NRRs, you will rarely run overweight. We've had NPRs at 19,000 pounds. Crazy. 5,000 pounds overweight, 20,000 pounds. The NRRs, if you get to 19,000, you're still within weight limits. If you get a little over, at least it's not completely excessive. The NPRs, I've looked at dump tickets on one of our NPR trucks at like 21,000 pounds, and I'm sitting here thinking, how the hell did that thing, how did the wheels stay on the ground on that thing? Because I know those fenders were dragging. So that's not going to happen in the NRR. The NRR I love also. The brakes are much larger, so they last longer. They last like twice the amount of time as the NPR. And the NQR is about in the same boat. The tires are larger, and they take nails a lot less. You have to replace tires much less than you do on the NPRs. The engine, the diesel engine will last longer, but you're also, it's the engine and especially the transmission, there is a little bit less stress on that transmission because everything else on the truck is built to withstand that weight as well. Love the NRRs. NPRs can be overweight quite often, and I don't like going with NPRs, but as far as buying used vehicles, if you want to use junk removal truck, a used got junk truck's about the only thing you're going to find. And the only thing I can say is whatever you choose, if you choose gas, if you choose diesel, stick with that same fuel type. You don't want half your fleet being gas, half of it being diesel, because you're going to have guys that are crisscrossing fuels. You're going to have gas in a diesel truck and diesel in a gas truck. What kind of comments we got out there?
Yeah, we've got a question on YouTube from William Green Incorporated. To start, do you recommend a truck or trailer?
Yeah, I mean, if you can get into a truck, if you got the money to get in a truck, go with a dump truck. Go all in. Get a dump truck. If you already have a pickup truck, you're on limited funds. You can go out there and you get a trailer. Just get to a dump truck as soon as possible. If you can get a dump trailer, great. But you get a good dump trailer, you're still at $9,000 or $10,000. For $10,000, $12,000 more, you could be in a full-on dump truck.
From Wallygon, what would you consider to be too much rust on a truck?
Surface, like body rust and all, doesn't concern me as much as a lot of rust on fuel lines, on brake lines. So when you're looking at these trucks, inspect the lines leading up into the engine. Are those rusted? Look at your clamps, your hose clamps. Are those rusted? Your brake lines. Get down on the brake lines. Does it look like the fastener itself, if you loosen that line up, are you going to be able to loosen it up, or is that line going to break because it's rusted shut and you have to put so much force on it that you break it? A little bit of rust. All these Isuzu trucks are going to have some rust on the frame. It's not a big deal. The frames themselves are pretty tough. So if you see some surface rust on the frames, don't worry about it. If you inspect your brake lines and fuel lines and they have very, very little rust, hey, you've probably got a winning truck. If you look at those lines and they're like completely rusted over, you probably want to pass on that vehicle.
And we've got one from Juan, also on YouTube. Is there a retrofit available for those older trucks? I have 3 diesel dump trucks, 2004 or older, in California. Just heard about a new law.
I don't know if they're Isuzu or not. I mean, you can do anything you want to do as far as putting engine and transmissions on the truck. The problem is the second thing I just said there is you might be able to get the engine to mount, but the transmission is going to be a different transmission as well, most likely. So it might not be worth the expense. 2004 older Isuzu trucks probably not worth, if it's got any amount of miles, probably isn't worth more than $6,000 or $7,000 unless it's got an updated engine on it that's in compliance. You're looking at you're looking at $10,000 for a new engine. You're looking at another $6,000 for transmission if it's diesel, which I guess it is. So you're looking at $16,000 to put back in that vehicle. It's probably worth just going ahead and starting replacing that truck. Keep in mind, if you're going to buy a junk removal style truck, wait times right now are 12 weeks out until JRA gets involved. Wait times are 12 weeks out on these junk removal bodies. So you need to start placing orders pretty close into now if you're going to buy new. If you're going to buy used, just get on Commercial Truck Trade or Truck Paper. You're looking for a 2011 or newer year model. And that's just California again, guys. This isn't federal. It's just our friends over in California that got to put up with all their crazy politicians. All right. So keep chiming in, guys, on trucks. Any questions at all on trucks? I'm happy to help. My expertise is definitely these Isuzus, but I mean I do know a decent amount about the Duramaxes, Power Strokes, and Cummins as well. Burnout. Anybody that has attempted, this is burnout like emotional burnout, stress, not doing a burnout in your vehicle. Anybody that has attempted really, really great things or has a lot on their plate has probably experienced some form of burnout or stress, depending on the official definition you go after. If you've experienced burnout, what's caused burnout within your business or maybe your life? What's caused stress, you to have a lot of stress? Post some examples in here, because by you talking about the burnout or the stress you've encountered and how you dealt with it, because obviously if you're still watching this, you've probably dealt with it. You've probably moved on from it. You can help others that might encounter burnout or stress, that give up on their dreams and their goals just because it overwhelms them. So what's the official definition of burnout? The official definition of burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. As the stress continues, you begin to lose the interest and motivation that led you to take on a certain role in the first place. Burnout reduces productivity and saps your energy, leaving you feel increasingly helpless, hopeless, cynical, and resentful. Eventually, you may feel like you have nothing more to give. The negative effects of burnout spill over into every area of life, including your home, work, and social life. Burnout can also cause long-term changes to your body that make you vulnerable to illnesses like colds and flu. Because of its many consequences, it's important to deal with burnout right away. So if you read this official level of what burnout is, I've probably never fully experienced full-on burnout. I've definitely experienced high levels of stress, but I'm very good at recognizing when it's occurring and how to deal with it. How do you deal with stress? If you're in business by yourself, it's a junk removal company, HVAC, moving business, dumpster rental, whatever it is, I guarantee you've experienced, especially if you're the founder. If you weren't the founder and you came into an already established business, maybe you haven't experienced burnout or high levels of stress. But talk about what's been some cause stress for you in your business. I will say that the thing that keeps me from saying that I've had what a psychiatrist might classify as burnout is the deal about losing motivation, it not seeming like it's worth it. The things that I've encountered is mainly stress and worry. You know, you set out to accomplish these great goals, and all of a sudden your business gets a little slow, or you have trucks that break down, or you have team members that let you down, that wreck vehicles, that no-show, that damage property, that don't deal with a customer properly. And it seems like, guys, all of this stuff happens all at the same time. You lose 2 trucks, you got a bunch of employees that are giving you issues. It's like it spirals out of control. It all occurs at once. If it hasn't happened in your business yet, then it's probably going to, unless you've been able to work with a mentor to help avoid it. There are ways to avoid it. So, trucks. If trucks are causing you or equipment is causing you a lot of stress, you got to get newer vehicles and you have to get more of them. If you do those 2 things, that's going to help on that level of stress. You guys, if you're out there running a bunch of old equipment like we have in years past, up until recently, we're still trying to recover right now, you're going to have stress because vehicles are going to consistently be going down. You're going to have to pay for that repair, and you're going to have all that downtime. People. You've got to keep fresh faces coming in. You have to train them. You've got to pay them well enough, and you have to recognize the times when they're starting to, what I call, go lame. Like a racehorse. We just had the Kentucky Derby the other week, and eventually every racehorse out there is going to go lame. It's going to not be worth racing anymore. When a team member shows signs of that, the first thing you do is you immediately meet with them and say, hey, what's going on? You know, I've noticed your production's dropped off a little bit here recently. You don't act like you're having a good time. What's happening, in life or with this job that's causing that to occur? And whatever the issue is with the employee, you just need to let that individual know that if it's something you can do to help, if it's a pay raise, then you need to tell them, okay, I can raise your pay, but I need you to get back not only to the levels you're at before, but I need even more production out of you. So I can get you to more pay. If you have bills that are piling up, if your car's about to go out, if you have a kid that's about to be born, whatever it is, we can help with that, but we got to get more it's a 2-way street. We have to get more from you. So here's what I need from you to get this pay raise. Whatever the issue is, address with it head on, but let that individual know, hey, you've got to get back to the production you were at before, if not better, or you're not going to be able to work here. It's not right for you. This position is not right for you. You should not put yourself through showing up to a job every single day that you don't enjoy doing, because it's going to cause stress. It's going to make you unhappy. You know, you're going to take it out on your family members. It's not worth it to you. And in all honesty, I mean, we have to have everybody that works here at Peak Performance. So you got just a couple days you can be down, and then you got to figure out how to straighten it out. And if not, you need to move on. You got to address those things head on. Don't let that individual sit there and operate at 50% for a month or 2 on end. Because then what's going to happen is they're just going to get so sick of the job, they're just going to quit, and they're going to do so unexpectedly, potentially. If you address it up front, if they're going to leave, then they can give you several weeks' notice so you can find a replacement. So those are going to be your main issues on stress. We got any examples of anything that people have encountered?
A couple people have said they're stressed right now.
Is it too busy or too slow?
We had one who was pretty busy the past couple of weeks. I'm not sure about the rest. We do have a couple questions as well.
Okay, what you got?
One real quick from Blake Gordon about the trucks was, what about Hino or Fuso?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on Hino or Fuso. I believe both of them are great trucks. I think both of them have the same issues, parts availability. The last I heard, again, I've never owned a Fuso, but I think the Fuso parts availability is even worse than the Isuzu's. But I'm not 100% positive in that. I think all of those trucks are about in the same boat. So if the Isuzu trucks is my level of expertise, so that's what I can really comment on. But my understanding is you're going to have the same sensor issues, you're going to have the same type problems, and the same longevity out of all three of those platforms for the most part.
And then we also had one from Wallygon. Do you think New York City will adopt the California DEP truck regulations?
I don't know on that. I wouldn't be surprised, but I mean, California is always historically California's been the toughest state out there as far as emissions, much more so than New York. So hopefully not. Nothing. And if they are going to adopt that same rule, this California thing I think's been out there since 2014, I believe. I could be off by a few years, but I mean it's like they gave you 6 years to work with. So, I'm sure California would at least give you 4, 5, 6 years as well. I mean, not California, New York, or any other state if they decided to do that. Okay. So, the burnout tends to occur. It can occur to anybody, but generally the people watching this, entrepreneurs, it's generally going to occur to somebody that's trying to do big things. But what I consider big, what you consider big, what somebody else consider big is completely different things. I mean, at this point, building up a 3 or 4 truck operation, in people that watch this episode, if you're at 1 truck or if you're not in business yet, if you get into 4 trucks, that's thinking big for you. To me, that's not really thinking all that large anymore. Getting to that, because I've done it before, isn't a huge stress. So it's when you step out of your comfort zone that generally you're going to start encountering stress. And I encourage you to stay out of your comfort zone, to be going for something much, much, much larger, but do understand you're going to encounter stress. What I always tell myself when I encounter stress is, one, it is not going to kill, the stress might eventually kill me, but I try and control it to prevent that. So if I feel a lot of stress coming on, I address it head on and I figure out, how do I get rid of this stress? I understand the only way to get rid of it, there's 2 ways to get rid of it. One, you quit. You decide, hey, I'm no longer going to go after this goal. The stress isn't worth it. That's not me. That's not how I approach it. The second thing is you're going to have to work. You're going to have to work through these issues. You're going to have to, one, you identify your areas of stress. 2, you figure out a plan to fix the problems that you're having right now. And 3, you need to figure out a long-term solution. So I like getting a pen and paper, and I like writing down exactly everything that's got to get done. And what you got to realize, guys, if you guys have 10 or 15 things on your plate, you can't do 10 or 15 things at once. You might be able to successfully juggle about 3 things, but what I found is when I get stressed because there's a lot that needs to get done, I have to stop multitasking. All right, I just write down everything that I need to get done, and I just check out, I figure out the highest priority, or maybe the easiest thing to cross off that list. That way you can kind of start a snowball, and I just work through it. I say, all right, this is the thing I need to accomplish right now. I'm not going to do anything else until this one thing's done. And this is, if you have a major crisis going on, if you've had an employee that's wrecked a vehicle, you've got jobs that are off late, you need to identify, all right, let's say an employee just wrecked a vehicle and you've got you have a ton of jobs that have to get done. You got to prioritize what's most important. So the most important thing is, hey, was anybody injured? And if nobody was injured, that's great. The second thing is, all right, we need to arrange getting this truck towed to a facility or whatever. That's going to be the second thing, whatever that is. The third thing is we need to notify customers that we're going to be late. So that's the third thing. And we need to reschedule them if possible. The fourth thing is, all right, what's wrong with this vehicle? Is it fixable? The fifth thing is, all right, how are we going to run the next day or the rest of the day? Is it renting a U-Haul or a budget truck or Penske truck, whatever? Is it buying another vehicle? Those are the steps you go through, and you check off one and you do it in order, or maybe you assign it to somebody else to take care of it. If you look at the thing as a whole, it's going to overwhelm the hell out of you. It's going to slow you down. Tackle one task at a time when you're feeling lots of levels of stress build on, and write them out. It is completely natural to worry. Guys, I worry, with this JRA thing, JRA and whatever else we go on, I worry all the time about it. We're setting this thing out to become large, to help a bunch of different service businesses beyond junk removal eventually. There's things we're still figuring out. There's people we still have to hire. There's processes we're still trying to put in place because we've gone through a pretty good amount of scale. Now, we've got them fixed over the last 2 weeks, but I didn't do this episode 3 weeks ago because I was in the middle of stress trying to figure out, all right, how do we got all this stuff we got to get done. How do we get done? The main thing we started doing is every day at 10 o'clock, we got a meeting. And everybody's at that meeting, and it might last up to an hour, but we cover every single task that has to get done. So I'm aware of everything that needs to get done. And we check off and everybody knows the next day, they better have a good reason if those tasks are not complete, if it was supposed to be done that very day. So that's how we fixed our level of stress. Again, it came to writing it out, and it came to addressing it as we go. And that's in our junk removal business, when we had issues, that's how I fixed them. Completely natural to worry, though. And many people quit. Again, many people are going to quit going after their big goals because they're facing burnout and they don't handle it properly. Break it down into individual tasks, start checking it off, and just, you can only move so fast. If people are pissed off at you or if you get behind, you can literally only go so fast until you hire more people, or get different processes in place, or get new technology, whatever it is. So, the other thing I'll tell you is do your very best to dedicate about an hour every day of quiet time. This works for me. An hour every day of quiet time and big picture thinking. Understand where you're at now, where you want to go, the hurdles you have in between. If you do it every day, maybe you can't get an hour, maybe it's 30 minutes. But find some time, maybe it's 15 minutes, find some time, probably 30 minutes at minimum, where you can think big picture, understand where you're at, reflect on where you have come from and where you've gotten to, and really kind of celebrate and say, all right, we're getting there. I feel pretty good, we're getting there. And then figure out what you need to do to accomplish whatever your ultimate goal is. And then get people hired to handle many of your day-to-day tasks. So eventually, as you grow, when you're new, you're going to wear a bunch of hats. You're going to have a lot to do, especially as you get busy. Generally, what happens when you first get started, you're looking for things to do. You're so slow, you're looking for things to do. And then what happens is you get busy, so then you're just trying to keep up. But if you're not careful, you won't start shedding some of these tasks to other individuals. And that's going to lead to stress, burnout, and it's also going to lead to you not operating your business at the level that you want to operate. It's going to lead to customers being disappointed because you don't show up on time. It's going to lead to employees getting burnt out themselves. Employees can get burnt out as far as just being overworked and not being able to do enough stuff in their life. They're working all the time and they can't. They got a girlfriend pressuring them because there's not enough time being spent with her. They can't get to the gym, work out, and that's what they enjoy doing. They might have a hobby they enjoy doing they can't get to. So your employees can face stress and burnout too. You need to recognize when that's occurring, and you need to treat them. Generally, they're not going to come tell you that they're facing stress or burnout. What they're going to do is their performance level is going to start to drop, and they're just going to quit. So very seldom is an employee going to come to you, or a team member going to come to you and say, hey, we're being overworked, I'm having problems. They're not going to be straightforward with it. You have to recognize those symptoms and you have to address it. My experience is again, I don't think, if you read this official level of burnout, I've never really encountered it because I've never felt like giving up, really. I've just felt like, how the hell am I going to accomplish what I want to accomplish right now? It seems like we're just spinning our wheels and going nowhere. If you've experienced burnout and you want to talk about it, please post on comments on here. So the only thing I can say is don't let stress and burnout cause you to not chase your goals. That doesn't mean that at some point you don't quit doing something. If you recognize that what you're doing is just not working, the marketplace, there's not a demand for it in your particular marketplace, you've tried it for a good period of time, then don't just quit, don't keep beating a dead horse. Just move on to something else. Still have a big goal, but it's just going to be a different. You got a destination you want to get to, and you might be in a car right now, but you got this giant ocean to go between. You're either going to need a ferry or an airplane to get where you're going to, and so you just might need to change the vehicle, which would be the type of business you're doing or the area you're operating in order to accomplish what your goals are. We got any questions, comments?
Yeah, we got a question on Facebook from Hami, who asks, will it be smart or dumb for me to sell my dump truck that I use now and my 2500 with extended walls to buy a newer Isuzu dump truck? I asked about what sort of dump truck he has. I haven't heard back yet.
Yeah, Jaime, I would keep a truck as a backup if at all possible, and also keep in mind these newer trucks, they're taking a while to get to. So, and I also think that the way you're trending and the fact you're investing in your business, I know you're working with us, you're going to need a second truck to keep up with business here soon. Maybe not this year. It might be next year, but I feel like there's a good opportunity here in a month or two. You're going to be needing that second truck, more crews to kind of keep up with business. So I would definitely keep a backup. You try figure out a way to go out and get a loan. If you have to pay 10% interest on a vehicle loan and you're going to be able to keep that thing busy, it's probably actually going to wind up being less than trying to keep repairing a bad vehicle once you account or a vehicle that keeps wearing out or breaking down once you account for downtime.
We've got another one from John on YouTube who says, I'm making more money from Home Advisor than Google Ads. How is that? Most leads come from Home Advisor that I reject. Then they look me up and call me. So he is located in New Jersey and he's getting about 3 junk removal leads per week from Home Advisor.
I don't know what area of New Jersey you're in, but I would say your budget's probably a little low on even Home Advisor. I like Home Advisor. Well, I don't like Home Advisor, but we use Home Advisor. It gives us work. There's maybe some areas in the country where Home Advisor actually provides more leads. Home Advisor normally shows pretty well on Google, so they show well organically. So a lot of times when you get a job from Home Advisor, it's because somebody searched junk removal in a particular area, they found Home Advisor, and then they went through their little funnel, and and they didn't even realize what they were doing, that they were about to be bombarded by phone calls that sends you out that information and you call them. I think a lot of times, on junk removal especially, the job actually comes from Google, but it's Google to Home Advisor then to you. So that's like a quick way to get up in the rankings organically. It's like a cheap SEO or an instantaneous SEO by being on Home Advisor. I'd look to raise your budget on Home Advisor. On Google Ads, we're happy to look at your current campaign. It's free. We'll do a free evaluation of it. We're not going to work for you for free, but we will tell you this is probably what you're doing wrong. You probably need to spend more money, but you don't want to spend more money if you're showing for bad search terms. If you're getting calls about rental trucks, are you a dump where I can bring stuff to drop you off, junk car parts, junk car removal, scrap metal prices, your weekly trash schedule. If you're getting those kind of calls, you probably don't have a very efficient Google campaign. Raising your budget's just going to waste money and turn you off from ads. Let us take a look at it and tell you what we can do for you. If you're not the customer from us at the moment, I'm going to tell you, dude, we're not going to do business with you right now until you get in position to where you're ready to do business with us. That's something we've learned over time to do, but we'll certainly look at your campaign and give you some pointers. So, guys, go after those big goals, man, whatever they are. If it's beating out 1-800-GOT-JUNK in your local market, if it's getting to 150 franchises and beating them out across the country, and if that's your goal, go for it. Set incremental goals. You're going to have pushback. You're going to have times where you want to give up. You're going to have frustrations. You're going to have money problems. You're going to have trucks that break down. You're going to have a hell of a lot of people problems. Tune in to Making Hay with JRA, and this can be your group therapy, though, because I'm going to talk about the issues we've had. It's not all sunshine and roses over here. We always talk about the problems we've had in the past. I've said before, if you ever want to work with us with our JRA business package, you're not only getting the stuff we do right, but you're avoiding the stuff we do wrong. And if you've made a mistake, we've probably made it a hell of a lot worse. Remember, guys, we started out with a pickup truck and trailer with 6x12 sides, or 6x12 trailer with 3-inch sides. 3-inch, not foot, 3-inch sides. We then went to a truck with 3-foot sides. We then bought an old Isuzu dump truck. We've bought old vehicles when we should have bought new. If there's a mistake that's been made, we've probably made it. We're here to help. Just watch us with Making Hay with JRA, or if you want to go with the business package. It's a great way to go to save you a lot of money. If you got the money to invest it now, if you want to start out quick, this JRA business package is a great way to go. Common area stress is phones ringing all the time or phones ringing in the evenings, and you either face a choice. You're going to stop doing what you're doing to answer the phone, or you're going to grab that call or you're going to ignore that call, which could be a job. The JRA call center, give us a call, 919-617-1975. It's available all throughout the country. We have extended hours, and we're open on most holidays. So it's a great option to help you avoid that stress, which will help avoid burnout. Any last questions at all before we wrap? All right, guys. Hey, appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Please, 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 please give us feedback. If you like it, it's thumbs up. If you dislike it, thumbs down. And whatever you do, subscribe. That way, if you don't like the channel, you can get on Facebook and YouTube and leave nasty comments and tell them how you hate JRA because of the content we put out. I just want you responding. I want you paying attention to us, and that's what you should want in your business as well. 919-617-1975. Check us out at junkra.com. I am Lee Godbold. We got Aaron It's going to end this episode right now, and we'll see you on Thursday. 12 noon.